human trafficking disguised as diplomacy. 5 men convicted of serious crimes in the United States were flown into the kingdom last month and are now being held at a high security prison. Pudemo says the agreement undermines national sovereignty, lacks transparency, and poses risks to public safety, and has vowed to challenge it both legally and through public protest. For more, I'm joined now by Pudemo leader Mlungisi Makhanya and Bheki Makhubu, who is the Nation magazine editor. Both of them joining me. Of course, we did extend the government of Eswatini, and we will share with you and show you on the screen what the response has been in terms of this deal. But let me start with you, Mr. Makhanya. Just your overall impressions. I saw that the statement came from you that says this is nothing short of you as an organization, that is, this is nothing short of human trafficking disguised as diplomacy. What makes you say that?
Thank you very much, Tulani, and good afternoon to Comrade Bheki there and to all your listeners. Look, the reality here is the Trump administration need to appreciate that the king doesn't have a country. Instead, the country has a king. So what we saw with this development is that individuals, some of them, Tulane, that were not even in prison at the time they were arrested and then deported to Swaziland. We can give the instance of Mosquera Roberto that were in touch with his family, who completed his prison sentence 15 years ago, and was among the 5 people who have been deported to Swaziland under the false disguise that they are convicted dangerous criminals. And it is that we are saying one of the things that we must avoid is to legitimize planted lies by the government of the United States of America. We shouldn't forget that no less than 780 individuals were arrested and taken to Guantanamo Bay by the United States of America under the suspicions that they were part of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. So what we are saying as Pudemo is that we will refuse and challenge this attempt to turn our country into some Guantanamo Bay, where the United States will take people who are convicted and committed crimes in the United States allegedly and take them to Swaziland without any contribution by the Swazi citizens, including elected leadership in various sectors of public sphere.
So, Bheki Makhubu, let me bring you into this conversation then. What's your sense of the extent to which this conversation is happening in Eswatini? At the level of the government being, led by the Prime Minister versus it being a conversation that perhaps would engage the authority of the king, as was outlined in the last few minutes by Mr. Makhanya. Is this conversation even happening? Is there any pushback? I think I've picked up murmurs here and there, but give us a sense of the extent to which MSWATI are engaged with this matter.
Thank you for having me, and my response would be to say, the government is really abusing us here. They're bringing what they themselves term as hardened criminals into our country. Remember, Eswatini doesn't belong to any individual. It belongs to all of us, equally. No one has got more rights to this country than the other. But what the government is doing is they are behaving like they have the say over how this matter should be handled without any of us participating as people of this country. It's like we don't know we are not intelligent enough to appreciate what is going on, and that they have the say, not even a final say, but a say to the exclusion of all of us in this country, and there's something insulting about that. The arrogance is just breathtaking on how they are behaving and how they're handling this matter. As a result, had it not been for social media, this matter would probably be dead and buried now, and they just don't see why they should discuss it with us. And get a feel of what, how we choose to react to this problem. As a result, there's no information. We're just getting information in bits and pieces from people whispering in corners. And it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, in fact, Mr. Makubu, let me stick with you. I was going to ask you exactly that question. How much detail do we have around the conditions of detention, the plans for when, because it's been framed as almost like a transit point between the United States, these countries of origin where these men are from. How much are we hearing about the plans about when be deported to their home countries, the involvement of international organizations such as the IOM, International Organization on Migration, the cost of keep people in Eswatini. Do we know any of those details, and are they being communicated openly?
No, they're not. The only thing that the Prime Minister said at a press conference on the Friday following the arrival of these men was that they are in transit, they are going somewhere, I don't know where, but it doesn't make sense because what kind of transit is it where a person leaves the United States to come here only to find that his home is in Jamaica, which is just to the US. I mean, this is, like they said, I think the allegation that this is just human trafficking at its worst has traction. We don't know. We're hearing stories that the money has been paid, that the US government has paid Swatini some money. That the money doesn't even coffers yet. It's being held in some secret account. Nobody is talking to us properly about it. I do know that one of the human rights lawyers in the country has tried to go and see this man, apparently on instruction from his family who have been in touch with him, his state of being, and is being denied access to such a person. That is quite cruel. Let me tell you that. I mean, when you are in jail, particularly, and I can imagine in a foreign country where the environment doesn't even make sense to you because it's unfamiliar, and you can't be visited by someone who wants to see you, it's quite traumatic. So, there's that we are even now starting to abuse these men whom we don't know. And who do we answer to? Because let's face it, what the Americans are doing to people in their country, one day somebody will have to explain what was going on. And putting ourselves in that future where we will be seen as a conduit for America's abuse of people, of human rights, in quite, the most shocking way you can imagine in modern day history.
Yeah. Mr. Makanya, what happens now? What avenues are available? You mentioned that as far as you could do your research, one of these people was actually no longer serving a prison sentence in the United States, which on its own is quite extraordinary. What's the way forward, though, in the coming days, weeks, and months?
Well, the way forward, amongst others, is that we are in touch with the families, and we are facilitating legal service for the families to instruct attorneys inside the country to make sure that they are able to take this issue up with our local courts, because we want to understand what due processes were followed, both in the United States of America and in our country, in terms of facilitating this transfer. But as Mr. Makubu was saying, one of the most annoying things to Lasizwe is the fact that no one understands and know exactly, other than this issue, what else has the king signed our country into. You might have learned that the king, for instance, gave the province of China called Taiwan 500 hectares of our land, and again we do not understand under what condition was this land given to the Taiwanese. But that as it may be, over and above that, we have written to all these native countries of these 5 deportees to want to understand what consular service and what action are they intending to take because these are their citizens. But also, we continue to mobilize the ground to make sure that we protest.
Yeah.
We will, in the coming weeks, with the leadership of SADC, and we've written to SADC member countries expressing our shock at their deafening sides, because before we know it, the rest of SADC will be sitting with a Swaziland that is agreed on deals and terms that places the security of the entire region at risk. In their own state, they claim that the renditioning of these five people promotes mutual interest of Eswatini in the United States of America. What we are not told is that what is this mutual interest that is promoted by taking someone from Jamaica or Cuba and bring them, like Mr. Makubo was saying, 15,000 kilometers under the auspices that they are in transit. So all those are issues that we want to take. But finally, this buttress the point that we've always said we do not have government in Swaziland. We have royal supremacy. We've got one man takes decision, and all of us are expected to follow.
All right. I've got to thank both of you for your time this afternoon. That's Mlungisi Makhanya and Bheki Makhubo. Mlungisi Makhanya is Pudemo leader, and Bheki Makhubo is the Nation magazine editor, weighing in. And just for commission, the countries in question where these five men are from are Jamaica, Cuba, Yemen, and Vietnam. And I did say that we will then reflect what the position of the Eswatini government is, because we did reach out to them. They again sent us their statement. I'll read one or two paragraphs very briefly. And this is from the Tabile Mdluli, who is the acting government person, who says the basis of the agreement is purely the good relations that exist between Eswatini and the United States. Eswatini also has relations with the countries of origin of the deportees. Them coming to Eswatini will benefit the country bilaterally through improved relations of both current and administrations. Deportees, Ms. Mdluli, will benefit in that they will be repatriated home and their relatives will be able to visit them. Already, some countries have reached out to say it is not true that they have rejected them. Hence, the government of Eswatini will expedite repatriation to such countries. So that, in part, is the response of the government of Eswatini to that story.
Family, let's talk about this issue of Eswatini. There's something going on in Eswatini. Trump sent, let me say, he removed very dangerous criminals to Eswatini, from the US to Eswatini. He made a deal with the king of Eswatini. And we don't know what was the deal about. But what we know, it was attached on this dangerous citizen. And when we listen to what Mr. Makhanya and Makhubo were, by the way, interviewed by SABC, Tulasizwe, we start to understand a little bit of what is really happening. And Swazis, we understand that they are not happy about what because the king, the way he's treating all these shenanigans that are going on with Trump, it's like he has a country. It's like it's his farm. I would say that. He doesn't respect the citizens of the country. And we don't know why he is doing this. As South Africans, when we see such things, this is the only neighboring country that is oppressing people. Let's exclude Zimbabwe. But coming to Swaziland, we know it as Swaziland. We know the king of Swaziland has changed it to Eswatini. But what is really happening there? It's really shocking. Because we know there's a year whereby there were a lot of killings there, and we know that there are some MPs that are arrested in that country for demanding democracy. That is all we know. And they are serving a harsh sentence through the courts of Eswatini, which are controlled by the monarchy. So it means in Eswatini, as far as we understand, there is no judiciary. Because whatever decisions those judges cannot take, if the king says this cannot happen, they will follow what he wants. And they will arrest who he wants to be arrested. Even if there is no case against that person, like we hear about the MPs. There's a lot that we have learned about Eswatini, including the killing of the human rights lawyer, Thulani Maseko. And another thing that is really hurting so bad about South Africa. As South Africans, we know very well that the king is ill-treating his people. And we are doing nothing. Because we have a government of the ANC that is sponsored by the king of Eswatini because he wants to keep power. And as much as ANC has got a lot of corrupt people running the country of South Africa, nothing will change in Eswatini until there's really GNU or other political parties take over the power, as ANC is losing power. that is when Eswatini will change. Because these other political parties cannot stand that kind of nonsense that's going on in Eswatini. So another thing that we know about Eswatini is we heard at some point that the king of Eswatini do as he wishes to South Africa. If he wants to come and arrest somebody in South Africa, he doesn't follow the procedures. He can just send his emissaries to come and arrest somebody or his police, and they will take this person through the backdoor channels, which they cross with this, because there are people, I understand, one was a Gunene, I don't know the other one, because we understand the other one was a former police in Eswatini, who was named as a commander of the struggle of Eswatini. Even though, in the AKA case, South Africa is following the procedures of the extradition of the people who are believed they were part of the killing or the deleting of the AK's life. But the king of Swaziland just sent people to come and arrest somebody and cross with that somebody, not in the proper channels and crossing through the fence. And as we talk, as we still follow the story, that those people are still in prison of Mswati. There was no extradition because Mswati is a sponsor of ANC. That's why ANC cannot do anything when it pertains to Mswati, which is a wrong thing that is happening. Because one day, power will change hands in South Africa, and that will be the end of the monarchy. Because now, ANC is treating Eswatini with kids' gloves when people of Eswatini are suffering. We are having a lot of foreigners in South Africa because of the ANC, who cannot take a stand in the neighboring countries and say, this cannot happen on our watch. Because when we have this kind of influx of immigrants coming in the country, it's because the way you treat your countries. Example, Zimbabwe. They're not doing anything about Zimbabwe. They're not doing anything about Eswatini. Eswatini, it's a matter of a month. If South Africa decides to take action, things can change for good for Emeswati. And South Africa will not have this influx of Emeswati coming to South Africa. Family, what do you think about this? Just drop your comment. And one more thing that I want to talk about is the Donald Trump thing. As we have listened to Mr. Makanya and Mr. Makubo, they were saying they are not happy about the people that have been sent, those dangerous prisoners to Eswatini. They are in contact with their families. And the way these people are being treated in Eswatini is not the right way. Because of what Trump has done to remove dangerous criminals to Eswatini through the deal that they made with the king of Eswatini. And Eswatini is saying Mswati doesn't own the country, but the Swazis own the country. So Trump must know that whatever deal he has done with Mswati, it's not his country, it's not his farm, but it's the country of the Swazis. Family, drop your comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Ngiyanithanda nonke ngothando lukaLove. Ngithi kini bantu bakithi noma izindlu zodaka kukhona eAfrica lapha. Bravo, bravo, bravo.